blessings. How's everybody doing today? I pray that all is well. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everybody to Deliver Me Nuggets. This is Apostle Elisa Biggers, and this is a spinoff of what I do every Thursday, Eastern Standard Time at 6:15. We're on this channel where we teach present-day truth and self-deliverance. And so today, blessings to you. And so today, on Tuesdays, this is where we do the nugget, because the Bible said that my people are delivered through knowledge. And on this station, this is where I share a lot of knowledge that will help you to deliver yourself, because sometimes people think that deliverance is just thrown up in a trash can. That's one form of it, but deliverance is a change of mind, a change of thought processes, what you're doing things differently, applying information to your life where you can begin to see the changes and you can walk in the blessings that God has for your life. And so today what we're going to talk about, choices. We're going to talk about choices. Why are we talking about choices? Because for the month of October, I've been talking about overcoming trauma and abuse. And let's be real about it. When we make decisions and we make choices, a lot of times our choices are being made from our flesh. It's being made from our feelings because of how somebody mistreated us, how somebody talked to us, and it form a new identity of how we see ourselves. And sometimes these choices are not good. And sometimes, based on what happened to a person, it causes a person to begin to make fleshly decisions, or they begin to make hurtful decisions, and so they can't make a decision from a pure place or from a healthy place, because they're making it from whatever have happened to them in their past. And this is where we got to understand, if we're going to make healthier choices, we got to begin to get healthy. This is where you got to be willing to deal with you. You got to be willing to be honest with yourself and realize where you have been making decisions off your flesh. Because sometimes when we're mad and we just make decisions because of how you're feeling right now, and then later on you say, why did I do that? Because sometimes we're not making decisions from a long-term perspective. We're making it from a right now perspective, and we got to understand we're messing up ourselves. And so here I got a definition for choice. A choice is the act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities. Can I tell you, if you are wounded, if you're stressed out, and you make the wrong decision, can I tell you this will affect your life? One decision will affect your life. One bad decision will affect your life. And if we're not paying attention to the decision that we are making, we're finding ourselves getting in debt. We're purchasing things that we shouldn't be purchasing right now. We're getting into relationships that are not good for us right now. We find ourselves doing all different types of things based on what we feel. And sometimes you got to be honest with yourself when you're tossed between two opinions, and that's the scripture that we're going to be bouncing from. So when you look at 1 Kings, the 18th chapter, when you look at verse 21, Elijah said, how long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is your God, follow him. And so we got to begin to understand that we say, I'm God's child, but yet you don't have the word of God on the inside of you. If you don't have the right information on the inside of you, and you're going to make the wrong decision. And sometimes this is why our life looks so devastating, because if we have not dealt with insecurity, we have not dealt with low self-esteem, we have not dealt with rejection, we have not dealt with abandonment, and we have not dealt with things that we go through in life, can I tell you, this is the reason why our life looks the way that it looks, because of the decisions. And you got to understand that even these choices will either affect your life positively or it will affect your life negatively. A lot of times what people fail to realize, the reason why we have been stagnant in our lives is because of poor choices, poor decisions. And how are you going to overcome this? That means you got to educate yourself. That means you got to look at what it is that I did that messed me up. What did I do that I should not have done? Did I overspend? Did you know what? Should I have waited before I bought that car? Should I have waited before I moved? Should I have waited till I got the job before I went and bought this new bracelet that I got? Some decision that we're making it from a temporary response, and we're not making it from a long-term perspective. And so this is why we find ourselves in a place of stagnancy, a place of being complacent. And we're wondering why God isn't moving us when we got to first learn the lesson. The Bible says we got to be a good steward of that what he give us so he can bless us with more. And so this is what we got to learn, to do something with our gifts. Do something with what it is that God has given us and cause it to multiply. He began to say in Genesis to be fruitful and to multiply. And so this is why we can't get comfortable being broke, busted, and disgusted. We can't get comfortable in our situation when it's not going right. This is where we got to say, God, okay, I need you to show me where have I been making the wrong decisions. I need to talk with some people who are going in the direction where I want to go. You know what? Maybe I need to go take a class. Maybe I need to go educate myself about a situation, because guess what? I've been faltering between two opinions, because one minute you say you want to do this, the next minute you say you want to do something else. The Bible say a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And so when we're up one minute, down one minute, we're going to do this one minute, the next minute we ain't going to do it. That's an indication that we're dealing with double-mindedness. And a lot of times when you're dealing with double-mindedness, let's be honest, it means that we got some unresolved issues going on in our life that we need to resolve before we make a decision. And sometimes we've been making decisions from our flesh. We've been making decisions from how we feel, and not understanding, if you have not gotten healed or gotten delivered and you making a decision, a big major life decision, you may say, I don't know if I'm gonna move to another state. I don't know if I'm gonna go overseas to work. I don't know. And you're thinking about some stuff and you have not really thought it through, but you're just going based off what you feel right now. Can I tell you that can either advance your life or it can either wreck your life? And this is where we got to be honest with ourselves. And so sometimes we have been hindering ourselves because we've been asking people for their opinion who don't even know what to do about their own lives. This is where we got to do better. We love our friends, we love our family members, but when people are struggling themselves about making decisions and we're asking them, what do you think? What do you think I need to do? You're asking somebody who don't even know themselves. And so now you're shooting yourself in the foot already because you asking somebody who do not know. And see, and this is where we got to begin to say, you know what? I got to get delivered from this thing here, because I don't want to ask nobody. I don't want nobody to say, you know what? I should know this. I don't want nobody to say I'm stupid. No, this is where you got to understand that is fear. That's where the enemy is bringing fear to you, because can I tell you, there's no stupid question. It's a stupid question when you don't ask the question. But this is where we got to put ourselves around people and we can ask them to help us, educate us, show us what it is that we need to do. This is where we got to be willing to ask for help. I found a lot of people, sometimes they will wing it on their own and they'll keep failing and keep failing because they don't want to ask. You got some teenagers, some young adults don't want to listen to their parents. Let me do it by myself, and they keep fumbling and keep fumbling because they want to keep on doing it themselves and not understanding it. You can just ask your parent and your parent can help nullify all of this. The same thing, you can ask somebody else to help you with a situation, but because you saying you don't want anybody in your business, now you're going to try to wing it when you know you really don't know. This is where we got to begin to now move into that place of walking by faith. You know what? Walking by faith and not by sight. We got to stop going by our feelings, because guess what? Because if somebody talked it down on you, somebody made you feel like you weren't smart enough, they made you feel like you weren't educated enough, that you can't handle a situation, you will have a tendency to make decisions from a place of fear. And you will make decisions based on how you feel, not understanding that your feelings will lie to you. The Bible tells us in Romans that your flesh is not saved. And so we got to very much be careful, because this flesh will deceive you, will make you think that you're making a good decision, and it's really not a good decision. I can tell you the times I went by what I felt like, and can I tell you I made the wrong decisions because I was listening to my feelings, and I did not go and ask godly counsel and seek godly counsel. This is where he was telling the prophets of Baal, he said, this is where there was a battle going on, and this is where Elijah was battling the prophets of Baal, and it's where they was doing their thing. And because he said the God that answer by fire, that's the God who's the real God. So they start doing all their stuff, and he's like, well, maybe you need to call him again, maybe you need to jump, maybe you need to do this. And so even though they seen what they was doing was not working, but they kept doing it. And sometimes that's what we do. We know something is not working, and we keep doing the same thing, when we got to really take inventory and say, you know what, I've been doing this same thing a year, and you know what, this is not working. So now I got to begin to say, God, I need you to show me what it is that I need to do, because evidently what I'm doing is not working. This is where, you know what, you got to put a time limit on things. Yes, I know we got to be patient, but you got to understand, if you seeing that you doing something and it's not working, this is where we got to go back and say, you know what, because the Bible says you wouldn't know a tree by the fruit that it bears. From somewhere we should be seeing some type of harvest. And if you're not seeing a good harvest, that's an indication that you're making poor choices and poor decisions. And this is where it's time for us to grow. This is where we got to be able to look at ourselves and say, if it's not growing, I'm going to leave it alone, because I got to make sure that, you know what, I'm in a place where I'm growing, and I'm not going to be stagnant. This is where sometimes people choose not to learn from their mistakes. This is where you got to understand that but poor choices, it will affect you financially. It will affect you financially. It will affect you relationally, and it will affect you mentally. And so this is where we got to understand. We got to get some order in our minds, because some of our minds are some everywhere, and some people we're telling the wrong stuff to, people who we need to talk to, we ain't talking to. And so we find ourselves doing a lot of things that is not good, and it's because of choices. And so I'm just wanting to remind you that let's revamp and let's look at the decision that we made, and let's be honest and say, you know what, that was not a good choice for me. You know what, I did not ask God. Can I tell you, when it comes to making decisions, we need to always take it back to God in prayer. Begin to pray about it. God, should I do this? No matter how small it may be. God, should I take this job? God, should I move in this house? God, should I go buy that car right now? We need to ask him, because when we're asking him, you got to understand, and when you listen to him, he's going to help you when you're in need. But when you go do something on your own and you didn't ask God, that means that you did something without him. And so guess what? If he tell you, I'm going to leave it up to you to handle the situation when trouble arises, you're going to be looking crazy, because God said, wait a minute, you didn't even involve me. You made that decision on your own. I can tell you how many bad decisions I made on my own, because I thought I was big and bad enough, and I thought that I was grown enough to make the right decision, and really it was a poor decision. This is where we need to go back to, even to talking to other people who are going where you're at, or people who are already at where you want to be. This is where we need to talk to these people, and we need to say, you know what, can you help me? This is something that I'm dealing with. This is where we got to let down our guards, and we got to be willing to allow people to come in to help us. Because can I tell you, your flesh desires Your flesh, it wants what it wants more than what God wants. And so this is why we can't just go by what this flesh wants, because this flesh want to be comfortable. This flesh want to do whatever it wants to do. And so when we don't ask God, we're telling him we're putting our wants over what he wants for us. And so we got to be very careful, because can I tell you, making the wrong decision, it will have you wasting time. How many years have we wasted because you made the wrong decision about something? You made the wrong decision about a person, and it costs you years. One thing that you cannot get back is time. We cannot get back 12 o'clock today. We cannot get back 2 o'clock today, because that time is gone. And so many times we have been giving away time. It's because we made a choice. Sometimes even God even showed me even talking on the phone, just talking when you can be doing something else. This is where we have to be very wise in what we're doing. These are nuggets to help you look at yourself so that you can grow to a place of maturity. Because sometimes we be on the phone hours and hours and hours. Those are times you could be reading a book. That's time you could be reading your Bible. You could be praying. You could be exercising. We're watching TV, we're on social media, and we're wasting so much time when we really could be doing something productive that's going to help to educate yourself, that's going to help make you a better person. Could it be that you can be taking a class? Could it be this is where we need to be using more time to invest in ourselves? Because sometimes we're using so much, we're making the wrong choice to invest in something that's not going to help us. That's just like when you can go get a car. The car may cost $20,000, but when you take it off the dealership, now that $20,000 investment, now it may be worth $15,000. See, and we got to understand, we got to not waste our time, and we got to make better choices. This is what we got to understand. When we choose to focus on trauma, when we choose to keep focusing on, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe that, you know what, this happened to me. Can I tell you, that's a choice that you got to, you know what, you got to say, you know what, I forgive myself, I forgive them, but I got to move on. This is where you got to be willing to push yourself and not keep holding on, talking about the same thing, because that's a choice. That's a choice. If I can tell you how many people I talk to keep talking about stuff that had happened 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and it has stunted their growth. It has ruined marriages. It ruined relationships, because people have made the choice to stay stuck on something that was unproductive. And this is where we got to stop being stuck on things that is not helping us. We shouldn't be wasting our time talking about a situation that's not going to help us. If it's not going to be productive, if we can't learn from it, why are we spending our time keep talking about this thing when we say, no, I'm not going to waste my time with this no more. And so sometimes people don't want to grow because they're stuck, and they're making the choice that they want to keep on staying in a place of trauma. And so this is where God is saying, you got to make the choice that you're ready to grow. You got to make the choice that you're ready to be delivered. You got to make the choice that you got to push yourself, even though it's uncomfortable, even though you don't like it, but it's a choice that you got to understand it's going to pay off in the long run. You got to know that what you're doing is going to pay off in the long run, but you got to be willing to keep moving. This is where you got to be willing to say, you know what, no more up and down, but I got to be persistent. We got to begin to deal with the procrastination. I'm going to do it and I'm not going to do it. See, it's a choice. We choosing to watch TV for 5 hours when you got some stuff that you need to be doing, but you're making the wrong choice. And this is where you got to look at yourself. What I'm doing, am I making wise decisions? Am I making good choices, or am I making poor choices? Because when you look at what you're doing, we should be productive. The Bible said we should be fruitful and multiplying. So if we're not multiplying, that's an indication is we're not making good choices. We're not making good decisions. And so this is where you got to go back and say, God, I need you to show me at where I'm making poor decisions at. I need you to show me where I have made the wrong decisions. This is where you got to be willing to look at yourself and say, you know what? I need some help. I need to do some research. I need to do some studying. Can I tell you, this is where you got to learn to trust yourself, because when you're not healed of trauma and abuse, it causes you to trust another person. And this is where we have to stop looking at somebody else to always have our best interest. Can I tell you how many times I got wounded thinking that somebody else had my best interest because I did not trust myself? And a lot of times we don't trust ourselves because we have not took the time to invest in ourselves. We have not taken the time to look back and say, what did I do wrong? What's the reason why I don't trust myself? And see, a lot of times we don't trust ourselves because we're too busy looking for somebody else to do it. But when you look back and you begin to reflect over your life, God has shown us red flags. God has showed us, He has given us discernment and told us not to do this. You need to go back over the situations where you failed at and say, God, show me the red flags. Show me what you was trying to tell me and I ignored you. See, this is where God is trying to show you to build up your confidence, to build up your trust in Him so that He can begin to help you to get into the place where you need to be at in Him. Because sometimes, you know what, when you put your trust, that's why God said put your trust in Him, because guess what? Man and woman will let you down. I'm going to say that again. Man and woman will let you down, especially when they're upset with you, especially when they feel like you're not doing what they want you to do. And so this is where you got to make the choice to invest in yourself, because when you're making the choice to invest in yourself, you are doing what's best for you. Too many times we're making choices off of what somebody else wants. You got to begin to look, is this good for me? Because if something is not good for you, and you're making a decision on what's good for somebody else, but when that person walk away, guess what? Now you're stuck like Chuck. Now you in a messed up place because you made a decision based on another person and not was based on for you. And see, and this is why the Bible tells us not to be anxious for anything, because when you're anxious, what you in a hurry? You got to hurry up and do this, got that, and you don't want to be still. This is where we got to say, God, I need you to help me. This is where I need to put my flesh up under the blood of Jesus. Help me not be so quick to make a decision. Help me not to be so anxious to make a decision. Can I tell you what may be good for somebody else? It may not be good for you. And this is where you got to be willing to say, you know what? Is this good for me? Is this working for me? Because if something is not working for you, you don't need to keep on investing in something that is not working for you. But if something is working for you, you got to invest in it. Can I tell you, we have to stop being so cheap when it comes to ourselves. When it comes down to educating yourself, some people are so cheap, but we'll spend a lot of things on materialistic things that are no good for us, that they depreciate time you put them on. But this is where you got to begin. The Bible say God is the God of wisdom. He said, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God. This is where I'm asking God, God, give me wisdom. Give me wisdom to make better decisions. Give me decisions to think smart and not work hard, but to think smart. See, this is where we got to understand these, where we got to make better choices and stop duplicating the cycles we seen mama and grandmama and daddy and granddaddy did. No, this is where we got to now use wisdom and let God begin to show us. And so this is where God is saying on this nugget, I just need you to blessings to you. We just got to begin to look at what we're doing and ask yourself, are your decisions and choices coming from a hurt place? Are you making rational decisions because you're mad? Sometimes we make rational decisions because we're mad and we're angry and we're frustrated, when really you should not make decisions when you're angry. You should not make decisions when you're mad. You should not make decisions when you're nervous. This is when you should wait till you calm down. Why? So you can rationalize. Because it can be good for right now, but long term, it can be awful. And so we need to understand that decision that we make, we want to make sure that we're getting the benefit out of the decision that we're making in life, and don't just be so quick. Because again, your flesh, I want. Your flesh may want something, but God may say it's not time for you yet. He may say, I got some areas that I need for you to grow yet. And guess what? And if you want to overthrow God, God will allow you to get something and to do something that He never told you to do because you did not ask. Can I tell you, sometimes people will allow people to put them together, even in a relationship, and they did not ask God. And we wonder why we have what we have, because of what we allowed somebody else to have our best interest, when really some people don't have your best interest. They have your interest according to how they feel or what they want. But the person who got your very best interest is God and you. And so you should be able to know what's good for you. And if you don't know what's good for you, it's time for you to get healed. It's time for you to get delivered. And this is where you got to now begin to be honest with God and begin to tell God that you need some help. This is where you got to say, God, help me. Do I need to go to counseling? Do I need to go get the inner healing and deliverance? Do I need a coach? Do I need a mentor? You need to be willing to help yourself. You cannot afford to keep going through these same cycles, making these same decisions, and we're hoping that God make it better, when God's saying, I was waiting on you to make a better decision. God said, I was waiting on you to make better choices. And so if you're not making better choices, we're not going to be able to see the promises that God has blessed us. Because I have learned, it seemed like it was a wrong decision, because my flesh was at a wounded place. My flesh was at a traumatic place. But it ended up being the best decision for me. And so this is where I'm saying you got to know what's best for you, and take other people out the equation and know what's good for you. Because when you know what's good for you, that's what God is. When you stand before God, that's what you're going to get in count of, the decision that you made for your life. But when you're telling God, well, they said this, they said I should do this, they said I should do this, and He's going to say, but what were you supposed to do? Did you get in the word? That's why Elijah said, why are you faltering between two opinions? If God is God, follow God. If Baal is Baal, follow Baal. So a lot of times we're following Baal, but we're saying that we want God. God, lead me and guide me, but we're following our flesh. But if God is God, you're going to have to allow God to deal with you, so that He can begin to speak louder to you, because your flesh would tell you, yes, this is what I want. But God is saying, no, this is not right for you right now. This is not good. Plenty of times I went to go get something, and God said, this is not right. This is not a good time for you. My flesh wanted it. But I said, you know what, God, I know you know what's best for me. And so guess what? I respect Him, because I know He knows better than what I know. And so this is where you got to begin to now start looking at your choices. Start looking back over mistakes you made. Begin to go back over the mistakes and say, okay, God, now I need you to show me, where is it that I did not listen? Where is it that I ignored you? Where is it that I did my own thing? Because now you need to learn from them decisions, and you're not going back making them same decisions that you made before. Because you know what? He said, when I was a child, I thought like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. This is where you got to be willing to recognize what's the childish thoughts. Because I want it. I want it. That's what little kids is. I want it. I want it. I want it. And sometimes you got to tell that child, no, you cannot have it. And that's the same time God do with us. No, this is not a good time yet. You got to grow some more. You got to mature some more. And so this is where we got to be willing to know that God knows what's best for you. And so when you don't want to listen to what He has told you, He's going to allow you to make that poor decision, even though He knows it's not good for you. But God is not going to go up against our will. And so I pray that even here, that this afternoon, it will have you thinking about the choices that you make. Because you know what? We can pray all we want to, but if you don't never sit back and reflect over your life, and reflect over what you messed up, reflect over what you did, reflect and begin to say, God, show me, what do I need to change and what I need to apply to my life, you're not going to grow. And so God will put you in uncomfortable positions, uncomfortable situations, just to get you to grow. So stop thinking that everything is the devil. Everything isn't the devil. It's because God has put us in a situation because He wants us to grow. So I pray that this nugget was a blessing to you. This is Apostle Lisa Biggers, and I will see you all Thursday at 6:15 on this channel. You all be blessed. I love you all with the love of the Lord. Bye-bye.